Hey, what's up guys? LJS here, back with another deck profile. And this time, it's a deck profile of my avatar, my clan, the awesome CBD of Link Joker. Yes, I know this is a set 13 card, and set 13 has been out for a long time. And I am way past the time to make deck profiles for set 13. Well, you know the saying, better late than never. So with set 14 coming up soon, I will try my best to roll out set 13 deck profiles, although you guys probably have watched lots of deck profiles already and you guys might think this deck profile is boring. But anyways, just continue watching. Yeah, I'll try to roll it out soon throughout this week, but I'm very busy with work because adult life, because growing up, hashtag growing up problems. Anyways, CBD, yes, this is SP, in case you haven't wondered. Yay, glory of the SP. Anyways, CBD, yes, very good deck. I love it because it's my clan, and I actually used this deck a couple of days ago in the Malaysian Team League Nationals, and he did pretty well. He only lost to Grade 4 and dominated everything else, which is pretty good. So, this deck, like most Link Jokers decks, revolves around locking your opponent's rear guard, basically locking them, and essentially slowing the game down, like really slowly, and basically you control the pace of the game because this is like a more control focused deck. And you know, when games are slower, you get to play longer, which is more fun, right? So for this deck itself, CBD build, the main boss would be CBD, or Chaos Breaker Dragon, and he is your main advantage generator. Very good. Next, he's complemented by the Break Right Infinite Zero Dragon, which helps you get more locks. These cards are then supported by Colony Maker, which helps you get free units, sort of, as well as Niobium, which powers up whenever you lock a card, also SP. And for the Grade 1 support, you have, which I consider MVP of this deck, Prison Gate Star-vader Palladium, which helps relock units that I've unlocked. And finally, you have Lanthanum, which powers up when you lock a unit. So with the general idea out of the way, let's go to the deck build. So for Grade 3s, starter, I run Star-vader Dusttail Unicorn. He is a forerunner, so when right of him, he comes up into rear guard. So, like all forerunners, and his skill is when you have a counter plus 1, put this unit in a soul. If you have a Link Joker Vanguard and your opponent has a lock card, choose another of your opponent's rear guard and lock it. So this guy helps lock cards. So when you have opponent has a lock card, he gets to lock another one. Pretty staple of all Link Joker cards. But another alternative you can run would be White Knight Fenrir. Essentially, his skill is that when he boosts a Vanguard with limit break, when he boosts a Link Joker with limit break, and that attack hits a Vanguard, you can put him in your soul and draw a card. The thing is, this deck is very counterblast heavy, so if you want to conserve counterblast, you can actually run him. At least you get a card back into your hand. Whereas him, he requires counterblast to lock, but it helps locking. But I prefer running him because he helps with locking. Yeah. So for Grade 3s, we run 3 Chaos Breaker Dragon. Oh yeah, the OG, the boss of this deck, the OP boss. I only run 3 because I think 3 is enough because he's your end game. But if you want to, you can also run 4. Perfectly fine. Essentially, his skill is Limit Break 4. Soul Blast a card with Star-vader, which means you must Soul Blast something with Star-vader. And during your opponent's end phase, this key end phase, when an opponent's rear guard is unlocked, you may pay the cost. If you do, you retire that unlocked unit and draw a card. So skills like unlocking skills like Ezel Scissors, you can't use this skill on them because those are unlocked during main phase. This skill says unlocked during end phase. So yeah, those are hard counters to CBD, which is sad. Next, I run 4 infinite 0 dragons. The break right, very key as well to this deck. He's essentially the backbone of Link Joker. So his skill is when a Link Joker rides his unit, he gets a 10k, and you get to lock one front row and one back row rearguard of your opponent. So essentially, the moment you ride him, you break right, 2 cards are locked, which is very good in slowing the game down and using his skill to draw cards and retire cards. So next for grade 2s, I run your standard 4 Radon, which is your 12k attackers. And if you notice, these are all SP. Oh yeah, 4 SP, the promo version. So, self-explanatory, 12k attackers, always good to hit Vanguards. Next, I run 3 Colony Makers. Her skill is, when this unit is placed on R, and if you have a Link Joker Vanguard and your opponent has a lock card, you can pay the cost, which is kind of +1. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 grade 1 or less card with Star-vader in its card name and call it to R. So essentially, she's a free caller. So when you call her out, if your opponent has a lock card, count it +1, pull a grade 1 or lower Star-vader from a deck into a rearguard. You can put it anywhere, it doesn't have to be the same column. I only run 3 of her because typically in the game you only use her once, because like I said, this deck uses a lot of counterblast, so you probably only use her once. So run 3. If not, she's just a 9k attacker, which is useless. Next, I run 3 Niobiums. The skill is, whenever the opponent's rearguard is locked, due to an effect for one of your cards, if you have Link Joker Vanguard, this unit gets 2k until end of turn. The sad thing is it's only 2k, which is quite sad. I would prefer if they actually gain 3k. But anyways, this guy gains 2k every time we lock a card, which is good if you lock a lot. And again, once again, this is SP. Oh yeah. Next, I run 2 Vanillas, also SP. This is good for turn 2 ride him for good defense, because he can make a difference between 5k guard and he can make a difference between throwing an extra 5k to guard. For him, typically I might actually think of swapping him for him or her, but he's quite good because whenever opponents see this, they will want to kill him because they're afraid of him powering up. So essentially he becomes your sponge. He absorbs some of the attacks, which is good. So next, for grade 1, I run your staple must-have for perfect guards, and the MVP of the deck, which is your around 4 of Palladium. His skill is, during your opponent's end phase, when an opponent's rear guard is unlocked, if you have a Link Joker Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, lock that unit. So the cost is count +1 and put this unit in soul. So essentially, what happens is when an opponent's card gets unlocked, you count +1, put in a soul, relock it. So basically, this guy is useful for maintaining locks and controlling the game, which is very, very good. So next, I run 3 Lanternums. Basically, he's a clone of Niobium. He gets 2k every time a card gets locked. So it's very good. Lock 1, 9k booster. If you put it behind him, as a 21k column itself, which is pretty good. Next, I run only 2 SP as well. Star-vader Neon, your 10k attackers. He is only useful for early game, and since he as early game attacker, I don't really run him as a booster because I prefer running these guys. I prefer running these 2 as boosters because you need him to relock, and you need him to power up to get nice columns. And lastly, I run 1 Chaos Beat Dragon. Basically, he's the personal booster for Chaos Breaker Dragon. So his skill is, whenever this unit boosts a unit named Chaos Breaker Dragon, if your opponent has a lock card, this unit gets additional 5k. So it's an 11k booster for CBD if you have a lock card. So there's no cost, just as long as you have a lock card, it's a 11k booster, which is pretty good. So, and personal booster for CBD, and a 6k base. Another alternative you can run is Aurora Eagle. Basically, he's also a 10k booster whenever he boosts a Vanguard, and if you have more rearguards than your opponent. So essentially, when you lock your opponent's rearguard, you technically already have more regards. So he's always a 10k Vanguard booster. But I prefer running him because he is a Chaos Breaker Dragon booster, which is nicer, I guess, because he can only boost a Vanguard, whereas he can boost a Rearguard as well. Also, for grade 2s, if you want, you can also run Mobius Breath Dragon. Basically, when this unit, his Vanguard skill, only useful for turn 2. When this unit attacks hit a Vanguard, you can lock your opponent's Rearguard. So this is good for early game locks. But I prefer not to run him because he is useless as a Rearguard, because he has no Rearguard skill and is a useless 9k attacker, which is pointless. Anyways, now for triggers, I run your standard 8 crits, 4 draws, 2 different art, just to confuse the opponent, to make them guess ratios, 4 draw, yes, and 4 heals. So now let's talk about how to play the deck. How should your field look like, and plays you can make with this deck. So for sorry about that. So your ideal break right turn should look something like this. Infinite Zero, break right. Okay, ideally when you break right, you actually want 5 damage in your damage zone. I'll explain to you why you want 5 damage, because as I said, this deck uses a lot of Counter Blast. So when you break right, you lock 2 units, and then you have him. Put in the soul, lock another 2 units. So Counter Blast 1, lock another 2 units. So now you have your triangle lock, which is your opponent's front 2 Rearguards and booster, which essentially blocks down his Rearguard attacks and weakens his Vanguard attack, which is very good, which is very, very defensive play. So this is what you ideally want to do. So as you see, 1 Counter Blast has been used. Oh, and ideally you want to have Lanthanum ready when you back right. Okay. Now you want to have Radon in front of Lanthanum, because he makes nice columns with Lanthanum. Because if you lock 1 unit, he gains 2k, 9k booster, 9k plus 12k attacker, that's 21k column, which is very good against 11k Vanguards. But for this turn, if you lock 3, he gains 6, which is 13, 13 plus 12 is 25. So this is 25k column itself on break right turn. Next, you want to call Colony Maker, another Counter Blast 1, get a free unit out. Either you call him as a booster, or you call him as a personal Vanguard booster. Personally, I would call him first, because you want to use him to maintain locks. So now, as you can see, you have 3 more Counter Blasts left. So this turn you attack. Now it's your opponent's turn. So you want as many Counter Blasts open as possible to use relocking skills and to use his skill to lock, because his I forgot to mention, his second skill is Counter Blast 1 and choose a card with Star-vader in his card name from your hand and discard it. Choose one of your opponent's Rearguard and lock it. This ability cannot be used the rest of the turn. So every turn you can lock 1 unit by paying Counter Blast 1 and discarding a card with Star-vader in his name from your hand. So that is why you also need Counter Blast available to use all his skills. So once you attack. Now it's your opponent's turn to attack with a Vanguard. So he attacks you with his Vanguard. So ideally, because the thing is, if you are at 4 damage, okay, you definitely want to guard it, because if he gets a crit, you're done for. So essentially, the moment you break right, you are already guarding all his Vanguard attacks, and it's very hard for you to get. And ideally, you actually want to lock down his 2 front rows. So now he has no more Rearguards to attack you, so you cannot wiggle in another damage to get an extra Counter Blast to use. So ideally, you want 5 Counter Blasts ready when you break right, if possible. So after the attack, when he unlocks, you relock the 2 front rows by paying 2 Counter Blasts. Use his skill, Soul Blast 3, and then retire the one that's unlocked. The 2 that is locked cannot be retired, and then you draw 3 cards. Okay. Then when it's your turn again, you have 1 more Counter Blast left to use, which you can choose to use to lock another Rearguard, or you can get Colony Maker again, come out, Counter Blast 1. Now you call a personal booster for CBD. So this turn, he is now 21 again. So essentially, these 2 turns would be your defining turns to push your opponent, and then, but after you use up all your counterblast, this deck is actually a vanilla deck because you cannot lock anymore and things just, you know, become vanilla. So you are banking on these 2 turns or maybe even more to gain advantage, and hopefully your hand size is big enough, bigger than his, and then you can just beat him down and win the game. Yeah. Also, another thing to note is that, let's say if your opponent is really good and he keeps controlling you at 3 damage, or let's say your opponent is running a rush deck, sometimes it's a good idea to just skip Inferno and skip Infinite Dragon and go straight to Chaos Breaker and start locking and controlling the game. Because decks like Nubatama, for example, and maybe Aqua Force or whatever, they tend to be able to rush you early game, and you want to start controlling them. And let's say they control you at 3 damage. Might as well just run into CBD and start locking and getting the advantage of drawing and retiring early game before your opponent kills you. So yeah. So I played against Nubatama. I rather prefer running him first because you can start locking down his pressure units and just start generating advantage before he gets to kill you. So when you run him, ideally you want 3 counterblast, so you can use 1 counterblast for his skill to lock. Then you can use the starter and again another counterblast to lock another one, and you call Coin Maker to lock another one to get a free call. So in that turn when you write CBD, you can actually have a free call, 2 locks for a cost of 3 counterblasts. And then next turn when he attacks you, you just say no guard. If he gets crit, you get 5 damage. Then you can start using his skill to Soul Blast and draw a card, and also maybe even relock. Then when your turn again, you can relock another guy, and there, 5 counterblasts used up. Okay guys, so now this is a ruling which some of you may not know, and there's a lot of debate on how this ruling works. Basically, it's a combo between these 2 cards. A lot of people say it's not true, or some people say it's true. But let me tell you, it has been confirmed by Bushiroad, so this is the official ruling of how this combo works. Okay, so for example, let's say you have done your triangle lock. Okay, so this is your field and this is your opponent's field, and this is your deck. So now, he attacks, and let's say you perfect guard. So now at the end of your opponent's turn, these cards unlock, and these 2 cards, their skill activates when opponent's card unlock. So let's break this down slowly, okay, step by step, and analyze this to see how it works. So first, this card unlocks, boom. All 3 of your skill activates, and in Vanguard ruling, you get to choose which skill activates. You get to choose what order you activate them. So first, I choose to use his skill. Bonus Soul, counterblast 1, relock it. I can choose to not use his skill because he said you may pay the cost, so I choose not to use his skill. But then I choose to use his skill next. So his cost is Soul Blast a Star-vader, okay, and it says you may pay the cost. If you do, retire that unit. But now this unit has already been locked. So in the Vanguard rule, you cannot retire a locked unit. So he stays there locked. And draw a card. It says and. It does not say if you retire, draw a card. So you can still draw a card. So in Vanguard ruling, you resolve a skill as far as possible. So you have to draw a card. But it's not possible to retire this guy because it's locked. So all you fulfill is drawing a card and not retiring. So in the end, you get to draw a card while maintaining a lock. So now let's unlock a second card. Boom, unlock. Both your skill activates at the same time. But let's say I choose not to use his skill because it says may. Then I use his skill. So blast 1 Star-vader, retire, and then draw. Next card unlocks. Boom. Both your skill activates at the same time. I choose to use his skill first. Bonus Soul, counterblast 1, relock. Then I choose to use his skill next. So blast Star-vader, retire. I can't retire because it's a lock card. Then I draw. So in the end, you actually drew 3 cards, retire 1 while maintaining 2 locks with this Palladium and Chaos Breaker Dragon combo. So that's why I said this guy is a MVP. You get to maintain locks, and having locked units is very good for you because okay, having your opponent's locked units is very good for you because number one, you save cards in guarding because they're weaker. In this case, you lock the whole front row, so they can't attack at all. So you will completely save cards from having no regular attacks. So yeah, in that sense, you save cards, and number two, you also draw cards. So this guy is very important in this deck because he's a very good advantage generator. With the help of this tool, it helps you build even more advantage. Although I mean, although you can say that it's a 1-to-1 trade because you actually have to use up him in the soul, but generally you probably need around 10k guard per column. So having him 5k shield in the soul is a decent treat. You save 5k shield and you get the maintained locks, which is very good. So yeah, so this is how CBD works. Oh, also another reason why you want 5 damage because when you've locked your opponent's front row, you would be very unlikely for you to guard because if you have 4 damage, if he gets a crit, you lose. And it is also very advisable for you to either guard no pass or guard perfect guard, because if he has no rear guards, he's gonna go all in anyways. So if he does get 2 triggers, you're dead. So yeah, you need Counterblast. So this deck is a pretty good deck, like Link Joker decks always are, because luck is awesome, locking is awesome. So yeah, that's my deck. This has been LJS. Like, subscribe, comment, and any questions or any suggestions, do let me know, and I'll see you guys next time.